We are both thrilled to be here today, and I will kick off by saying my name is Angie Brown, and I am a vice president of information technology at the Home Depot. I currently have responsibility for our merchandising organization. As a little bit of background, I've actually been with Home Depot now for more than 2 decades, which is pretty unusual to hear. I started as an entry level developer in the organization right out of college, and have obviously done a variety of different roles and responsibilities since then. I spent a number of years in store space as well, developing software solutions
Hello.
for our stores. Like I said, I currently have our merchandising organization. I think we got Alyss back as well.
Yeah.
But before we maybe turn it back over to you, Alyss, maybe we'll let Tony introduce himself, and then we'll get right over to you.
Of course. I love how Angie and Alyss are just swapping interchangeably. This is great. Yeah, thanks for having me. My name's Tony McCulley. I've been at the Home Depot for over 7 years now. I've been in the industry 20 years, which sounds crazy to me to say that now. I started in development. I have a background in UX, product engineering. I started in development at Home Depot, but I moved over to the enterprise architecture group, and I am now in the technology enablement group, where I currently manage something called the Orange Method, which is our in-house training and sort of research arm for technology enablement. Excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Great. Thank you both so much, and Angie for helping me recover from those audio visual technical difficulties. So that being a challenge on its own, despite the challenges of 2020, it was a successful year for Home Depot. Angie, what can you share about what helped make that possible?
Alyss, we've all been there with technical challenges this year, so in a variety of different ways. And kind of tongue-in-cheek, Home Depot was probably no different. But when we look at 2020, we definitely had a lot of different things thrown our way. But I would say what helped us really this year to succeed and thrive in these changing times is really our journey probably started back in 2014 on that front, which is really when we started what internally we call our agility transformation. And that's when we kicked off really changing how we build software, going from large projects with a large number of people and a large timeline to smaller balanced teams, leveraging test-driven development, leveraging continuous deployment. Just a variety of different things changed in our work practices as we were moving down that Agile journey. And so when this concept of the muscles you need for speed and adaptability, we really started building them, I would say, back then. And it's taken us time to mature those muscles for sure. But then when you pivot and you look at 2020, we had so much to take in and really kind of think about how we keep our associates and our customers safe in these times, and how we continue to meet their needs from a shopping experience, but then, like I said, protect everybody in these pandemic times. So, with one other kind of variable that got thrown our way is with people spending so much time in their homes in 2020, our demand really increased. And using it as an example, if you think about online, it was like spring Black Friday. I mean, it was Black Friday for us in the spring and for a number of months in the spring, because we saw so much coming in from a demand perspective as people were spending all this time in their homes. They came up with a lot of project ideas. And so when all that came in, we were really able to let our agility shine. We did a couple of things very, very quickly. I would say in a number of hours, maybe days is probably fair, but definitely less than a week. We rolled out curbside pickup, which was a service we had not offered before to our stores. Similarly, we took an entire distribution center and we pivoted its focus. One from big and bulky type deliveries to meet the demand of all these online sales. And I think that type of scale and that type of pivot and change, it wouldn't have been possible to execute that timely pre our transformation. So when we look at 2020, we really feel like this was not a market or a climate that we had planned for, but it's absolutely kind of been a validation for all of the IT muscles that we've been building up over the past few years.
Awesome. And Angie mentioned this started back in 2014. So Tony, being a part of the Technology Enablement Group, what specifically needed to change for you and your team to help engineers be more agile?
Yeah, that's a good question, Alyss. I think I think it's been said a lot of times. It's almost cliche at this point. It's nothing new, but I think it was really important to just get more out of the way of our engineers and let them do what they do. As mentioned earlier, for me, I sort of transitioned from this enterprise architecture group to more of a technology enablement or advocacy group. So instead of centrally managing more of these things about their build tools and their software development life cycle paths and so forth, we just started spending more time trying to understand treat them as users and understand their challenges, start advocating on their behalf, and then trying to provide them solutions that sort of meet their growing needs and kind of meet them where they are. So this meant approaching platforms and infrastructure and tooling with sort of the same user-centric or product-based approach mindset that we do everything else. So like our frontline associates and our customer-facing experiences. So we needed tooling that meant empowering the engineers, supporting self-organization, and tooling that helped foster more collaboration and communication.
That's great. And communication is so critical. Like, it doesn't matter how good your tools are. If your team isn't working closely together, you're not really going to see that success flourish. So Angie, to that point, scaling business processes is as much of a challenge, if not more, than scaling the hardware and the underlying platform. So how are you leading the charge on tackling those kinds of problems, and what do you recommend to other organizations?
There's a couple of things for us on this front. Like, one, just a little bit of backstory on Home Depot's strategy on this front. So you may or may not have heard the term interconnected retail, but really, that is a buzzword for we want our customers to have a consistent experience no matter how they choose to shop us, with the front door of our stores on an app in their pocket, on a web browser, or when they come into our stores physically. We want them to have a consistent experience. And it's so hard sometimes to remember this, but for most retailers, this online thing started as a proof of concept some time ago. Like, is this going to take off or not? And when you think about that, and obviously the answer was yes. For us at least, our two channels, online and physical stores, kind of came up separately. And so, like, back to that scaling a business process, we had to scale interconnected, consistent business process, and take these disparate ones from channels and create cohesion for our customers. And really, it's from a customer back mindset to have that consistent shopping experience, but it definitely means looking at business processes and scaling them to work, more than what you had seen previously. So we started a journey that we very, kind of aptly call commons, to have a common journey on some of these things. And, for us, our commons really are grounded in the core products of a retailer. Things like what are you going to sell? At what price are you going to sell? And delivery and things like that. And so we took some of that logic that was spread throughout the organization, even into selling clients, and brought them together into common service APIs that the enterprise as a whole could leverage. And so, again, this was streamlining the business process. And this concept of leveraging our commons is now one of our core tenets of our technology practices. And it's a forcing function for that customer consistency. as well. One challenging side of this, side effect for this is, when you're building these large processes for the organization, an empowered engineering culture can write a heck of a lot of software. And we're challenging our engineers to make sure that, again, they're leveraging and reuse. So I think one of the questions that we had to spend some time on, and truthfully need to continue to spend more time on, is how to make it easier and for our associates writing code, our engineers, to answer the question, has somebody already built this before? Like, do we have something similar in the organization? We've definitely made progress on that, but being thoughtful on that front, the information radars around that, is definitely, I think, a lesson learned for us on that.
It blows my mind thinking about trying to scale across such a large organization, a common strategy like that, being able to replicate software and similar use cases and create a unified experience for business associates, I imagine, is included in that customer's comment. So y'all have been on this journey. You're building up these muscles. How do you know if it's working? How do you know if you're on the right path?
Yeah, I'll take that one. I think whenever you're talking about this agile journey or this transformation, I think one of the most important things is fostering this culture of continuous learning and improvement. And when you're talking about continuous improvement, it's very difficult to do that sometimes if you don't know where you came from or where you started or where you are. And so I think figuring out what to measure and what to improve is really important. So that's been difficult in IT. I think almost forever, but I think it's changed a lot in the last few years, and a lot of that has to do with the work that Nicole Forsgren and Gene Kim and the others have done over the years with the DevOps Handbook and Accelerate. So the 4 key metrics that we learned about in Accelerate has been a really liberating thing for me in my space. A lot of the stuff that we used to do that felt good or felt like the right thing to do, for the first time in a long time, like, it's quantifiable, it's tangible, and it's measurable. And that's really liberating. For now, like, it's allowed us to treat our platforms and infrastructure and service offerings much more like a product. So we can experiment, we can make hypotheses, we can try things, and we can figure out what has a positive or a negative impact. And that's been really informative and liberating for us. So for me personally, I don't know about Angie and her org, but I think for me and a lot of folks on my team, reading the book Accelerate is required reading when you join the team. I want everyone to be rooted in that, the 4 key metrics and why we're doing it. We're still on the journey. We have a couple of them we feel good about. But I think, where we have work to do is to, fix some of our internal plumbing to make some of those other metrics available and accurate. But we're getting there. And I'm just on one of the previous talks earlier, I was listening to it, like GitHub Insights. It's sort of cut from the same cloth, right? And we're really excited and following the progress of that as well.
Angie, do you have anything you want to add?
No, I think Tony did a great job, wrapping that up. I think we're good on that one.
Okay. Well, so we're getting close to time here, and would love to hear, what other words of advice do you have for companies that are your size or hoping to be your size? Anything that you would have done differently as other organizations seek to go on an agile or DevOps transformation?
Tony, you want to go first?
I definitely want to make sure Angie gets the last word. I'll take that one. I'll go first, Angie. I think for me, like I said, I've worked in a lot of startups over the years, worked in a lot of large companies. I think I like to tell myself I found my niche in trying to get large companies to behave and act like more like well-funded startups. So, but one of the things I've noticed that's one of the stark differences between startups and large companies is when you're in a large company as an engineer, you can easily feel sort of detached from the impact of your work. There's a lot of systems that feed into systems and they all work together, and there's these large initiatives. And I think it's really important, however you can do it, to ensure that your engineers and your product teams still feel attached to their work and the initiatives and the impacts that they have. So whether that be bridging channels directly between users and the engineering teams, or setting up quantifiable goals and tracking progress against them, and kind of gamifying it. Information radars are really important, whether that be market research or from your business units. But I truly feel that when the engineers stay connected to the impact of their work, and they're intimately aware of it, they're more energized, they feel more responsible, accountable, and they have a much larger sense of ownership and pride in their work. So I think I don't know how you do it. I'm sure it's different at every company, but for me personally, I think that's one of the biggest things that I would recommend is ensuring your engineers feel really connected to what they're doing and the value of it and how it impacts the company.
Awesome. Honestly, Alyss, there's probably a number of things that come to mind on this. But I would say fundamentally, probably an overarching statement is, when you talk about an agility transformation or anything of that nature, it is you need to approach your business with an agility mindset and ensure that you are looking at it across all facets of the organization, not just within technology. And we're definitely there now in the very early stages. We always had our senior leadership and executive leadership support as we went through our transformation. But, it hits you in a number of different ways. I mentioned I was in store engineering for a while. And so that is anything from, the cash registers that we use in our stores, self-checkout, whatever the case may be, and these are 400,000 hourly associates that interact with our software on a daily basis, plus all of the customers that come into our stores. And when you start thinking about how you are constantly innovating in that space and giving them functionality along the way, and you're getting away from that mindset of here's a new system and a 45-minute class on how to learn it, to we're going to take one small segment of your business process and we're going to reimagine that, and then we're going to reimagine the next piece and the next piece and the next piece. And that was a mindset shift even for our store associates. In the beginning, it was something, obviously, it was change. It was unfamiliar. And so, we got a lot of, okay, it's great that you did this piece, but how about all this? And it was like, well, we'll get to it. We're coming. But I think over time, one of the things that they learned too was that starting small really helped them to have a window to also provide us feedback, and we were listening. And so we could truly adapt and make sure that our end users loved the solutions that they were working with and that it met their needs. And so I think that was kind of one pervasive thread that leads a little bit into, this concept of communication. I just cannot underscore enough how much it is a core tenet of a transformation, and explaining the why. No matter how many times we felt like we had communicated information, and remember we talked about this, we talked about why we're doing it. When you've got a large organization like this, people hear messages through their own lenses. They've got different contexts for that, et cetera. And so this constantly come back to your communication channels, constantly come back to how you're getting information out, constantly come back to how people are interpreting it. Be there to listen and repeat as much as you need to, and not to get frustrated by that, along the way, was definitely, I don't think you could over communicate in instances like this. And we probably, in the beginning, hoped to be a little bit more in the one and done category. So we had some learnings on that front. And I would say, as I mentioned, it's a business transformation. It's not just a technology transformation. And I think that's probably another key thing that I would, if we were back in 2014, we started in technology with the support of the business. I think we would pivot a little bit different and start across the company, and really have those partners beside us, because how they do work obviously changes as well. The customer back mindset, the test and learn, the small releases along the way, those were changes for everybody involved with the life cycle. And so it would have, like I said, in hindsight, I think we could have all started the transformation journey a little bit more simultaneously, versus technology got a little bit out ahead to begin with, and then partnered our business partners with us. And I think that's a general lesson for any transformation, whether or not it's agility or business transformation, whatever the case may be. You're reinventing how you have a process in your for a software business process, et cetera. You got to make sure that the business and IT leaders are hand in hand out front leading it, and not IT out front and the business following it. Because for us, especially, that customer back mindset is key, and that starts with that grounding and listening and understanding, and knowing that what we're doing is to deliver a phenomenal experience to our customers and our associates, and having that help in that transformation across our partners is wonderful now. I just wish, like I said, in hindsight, we would have started the conversations with them right when we were starting them internal in technology.
That's wonderful. And you're absolutely right, Angie. You can't change one part of the business and expect everyone else to follow, especially with such a big ship. I imagine you didn't learn any of this in a vacuum. There's probably a lot of different inputs. What would you recommend if you could only tell someone to go learn from one source? Tony already mentioned Accelerate, so I'm going to hold you to giving me another one.
Oh,
Tony, should we make Tony go first?
I'll give Angie some time to think about it. I don't know. I don't know if it's a great place to learn or not, but I'm a huge fan of Martin Fowler's Twitter account. Yeah. So if you're not subscribed to that, I definitely recommend it. You'll learn everything, not just agile transformation. It's really fascinating.
I would say I loved talking to people who had been through it. I mean, not just a variety of different companies and a variety of different industries, making relationships on that front, and, being able to talk to people that were at different stages of their maturity, have that community to call on is one of the key things that agree. The reading and some of the individuals that Tony mentioned are phenomenal role models on this. Also, like I said, just having those people that you can pick up the phone and say, "Wait, what did you do when you ran into this?" Was a great resource.
That's fantastic. And go ahead.
Sorry, Alyss, real quick. I was just going to say, I think again, being in the position that we've been, I personally have had a great opportunity of speaking with lots of other companies. And that's been super helpful to build up that community of peers trying to accomplish the same thing and learning from each other, for sure.
Love it. So tomorrow, y'all, for our audience, you'll be able to tune in to Nicole Forsgren's session for GitHub Universe as well, who Tony mentioned earlier, and helped lead the way on some of these DORA metrics. Thank you both for joining us today and for sharing all these things about your journey. To our audience, please rate this session. Let us know if you liked it. Let us know if you want to hear more. We would love to bring the Home Depot team back and hear more as they continue progressing on this journey. So any last words, or should we hand it back over to our host?
I would just say thank you again. Just like, go ahead, Tony. Sorry, I talked over you. Just the only other thing I would add is, just as it was valuable to us to be able to phone a friend, our phones are always open to be that resource for others that are going through this transformation. Happy to share. So really appreciate the opportunity to meet you, Alyss, and thanks for the time today. Tony?
No, just going to say thank you. Thanks for having me. Really excited.